your sticking paws off me, you...
Hey guys, if there's any time you hear some kind of sound that isn't me talking, it's because I live above a family. A loud family. That being said, let's get this review started. So I went and saw War for the Planet of the Apes the other week, which is the sequel to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Dawn of the Rise of Dawn of the Planet of the Dawn. Yes, this is the third and final installment of its overly complicatedly named kind. I really enjoyed Rise the first time that I saw it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it as soon as it came out onto DVD, and I remember it being a very entertaining, good summer blockbuster. I found it to be slightly short, but overall, I thought it was a really enjoyable film. And then Dawn came out, and I loved it. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes had to be one of my favorite films of 2014. It had action and absolutely incredible visuals that just blew my expectations away. It also had a great story of inner conflict and mutiny, and I think that it fleshed out both the ape side and the human side of the film very well. And I rewatched both of these films recently to prep myself for the third installment, and they both still hold up very strongly in my opinion. I had a few more criticisms and complaints the second time around, I'm not gonna lie, but overall I still think that they're really well made films. And then when all of the posters and the marketing came out for this third movie, it got me excited, you know? I thought that the trailers all looked amazing, and I thought that all the posters looked so cool. So safe to say, I had some pretty large expectations walking into this film. I usually hate having expectations for anything lately. I know that there was a time where I was into the advertising hype, and I liked watching all the trailers and the marketing campaigns and the posters for everything. But nowadays, I much prefer to just go into a film blind and let the movie speak for itself. But unfortunately, that's just not the case here. I had expectations and there was no way around it. Here's where my expectations of the film impacted my experience negatively. I walked into War of the Planet of the Apes expecting it to be just that. A war. I mean, they certainly advertised it as such. The posters, the commercials, everything that this movie had going for it before the actual release itself would lead me to believe that it was going to be some all-out battle between these apes and these humans in this gigantic war. So basically, I was expecting Saving Private Ryan with monkeys. I did not, however, get that in this film. I think that Jeremy Jahns did a pretty good job at summing it up in his review. This film should not be titled War for the Planet of the Apes. I can't think of what would be a more suitable name at the moment, but the conflict in this film is very internal and reserved. The middle act of this film is definitely a bit of a slow burn, and even then, the first and final acts are pretty tame. I mean, compared to Dawn, action-wise, it wasn't all too different or didn't really up the wow factor in any kind of way. Now let's talk about why this is a good thing. Character development. Remember that stuff?
You know, like in Dougal? Fuck, that was a good movie.
Initially walking out of this film, I had this feeling of meh-ness. No, not menace, meh-ness. That's right. And after a night of sleeping on it, I realized that these feelings weren't from the movie itself, but instead of what my expectations of the movie were. War for the Planet of the Apes doesn't have that fast-paced intensity that Dawn had. But what it lacks in compelling action sequences, it more than sufficiently makes up for in its character building. This movie just drips with emotion. Oh yes. Drips. Everything that the characters do in this film is driven by their emotions and seen with their expressions, and as audience members, we really feel it. The main reasoning behind this is due to the outstanding performances by the actors. Most notably, of course, Andy Serkis, who I believe has already stolen the show in the last two films. But I sincerely think that this is his strongest performance in all of the trilogy. And not that I had much doubt about it, but Woody Harrelson did a phenomenal job as this menacing and tyrannical colonel. Even after witnessing all the malicious shit that he does throughout the film, you can still see where he's coming from. I mean, if you're a human being, you should at least be able to see his reasoning at least a little bit. unless you like the idea of all of humanity enslaved by monkeys. It's a kink out there for someone. I think that all the other side apes were awesome too. I especially loved Steve Zahn's performance as Bad Ape. I didn't even know that was Steve Zahn until the ending of the movie. I saw the credits come up and I was like, wow, Steve Zahn. I think he did a good job at providing just the right amount of comic relief in this otherwise dark and gritty emotional drama. That being said, I still think that the most interesting character in all of the series was Koba in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes for sure. And for obvious reasons, he's not in this film, except for some very, very minor flashback hallucination type scenes. So although I wasn't expecting him by any means in this film, I think his absence, or perhaps just the absence of a stronger side character, impacted me negatively in some way. While we're still on this kind of gripe sort of note, the overall storytelling of the film isn't by any means original or new. I found it to be a very typical journey-like structure outlining the paths to revenge and retribution. Once again, that being said, I think that the way that the director executed this very simple kind of structure more than makes up for it. And the visuals, of course, were just like, holy fuck. Even rewatching Dawn the other week, I was still blown away by how well those visuals in that movie hold up compared to some movies getting released this year. And I sincerely think that one of the only films that can make Dawn of the Planet of the Apes look like fucking leftover spaghetti is War for the Planet of the Apes. To summarize it all up, I thought that this movie was a great, emotional, character-driven final installment of the new Apes trilogy, even if it wasn't quite advertised as such. I thought that all of the character performances were great, especially Circus, who once again was absolutely unbelievable as Caesar, and even surprised me because I already thought he was killing it in Dawn and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This movie is a little bit of a slow burn and can drag at times, and the story structure is pretty generic, but overall I had a good time with this film. The visuals in it were some of the best, if not the best, visuals that I've seen in a movie, and it was an excellent way to conclude the Apes trilogy. I'm gonna give War for the Planet of the Apes a 7.5 out of 10. Dunkirk is out, and I have to go watch it. Like right now. Like probably before I even upload this review. So expect another video real soon.
Check you later.